In today's episode, I just found out the rudest, most entitled customer I've ever had the displeasure of helping is a state delegate for my district, Long. He took the Dairy Queen Blizzard flip thing very seriously. Regular in poor health, what would you have done? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I just found out the rudest, most entitled customer I've ever had the displeasure of helping is a state delegate for my district, Long. I've told this story in this sub before, but in light of this recent discovery, I'm telling it again. During May or so 2020, when people were actually really scared of COVID, we were super busy. We were takeout only, mandate, but super busy anyway. I had started November 2019, and the guys who trained me had left for greener pastures. It was only me left. My restaurant had failed to hire any viable replacements. Most people left after a couple of weeks, so it was just me. I was getting overtime every week. I don't know why I stayed, but I'm still there now. Every day we only had one person, me, and sometimes a temporary extra on the weekends, to handle to-go orders, walk-in orders, DoorDash / Grubhub / Uber Eats / etc., online orders, and call-in orders. We also had a mandate that no more than 10 customers could be inside at once. It was awkward telling people they needed to wait outside. So this made me focus my attention toward the line of people out the door and the never-ending ringing tablets, which led to the phone being placed on hold often, sometimes for 10 minutes. We only have one phone line, and it was only me available to answer, even if we had multiple anyway. On one typical day for me, the counter had about a dozen bags lined up on it for pickups, and a line out the door of people picking them up or looking to place new orders. Then, in comes this guy. He's kind of a regular, orders once every other week or so. I recognize him. He cuts the line to come to the host stand and yell at me, "Why can't you answer the phone? Is your phone broken? This is so ridiculous, etc., etc." I calmly explained to him, "I'm sorry, but as you can see, we are very busy," gesture toward the rows of orders on the counter and long line. "The phone does get placed on hold sometimes, as it's only me working to take orders. If you'd like, you can wait in line and place an order here with me." He just kinda goes quiet after that. And I think he can sense how uncomfortable he's made the entire room of people patiently waiting feel. Even through the masks, you could tell people were making faces. Not that it matters so much, but I am 5 feet tall, baby-faced, even with a mask lol, and small, so it kinda looked like he had just yelled his lungs off at a teenager. I was 20 at the time though. He waits in line and places an order. The next person in line was actually picking up a call-in order because our phone worked, and I was taking call-ins when I could. A Grubhub driver who'd been waiting a crappy 20 minutes comes up to my stand after I call out his order is ready and tells me he admires my patience in handling that guy, apologizes that I had to deal with that, and tells me never lose that beautiful attitude, lol, love. I got an ad on Instagram today about him advocating for workers' rights, paid time off, etc. He tried to yell at and intimidate my tiny as, knowing very well I get none of that sh*t from the picture. I was like, I know that guy. Then I saw the name and the caption, put 1 and 2 together, googled him, and yeah, he represents my district. He took the Dairy Queen Blizzard flip thing very seriously. Last summer I spent most of my time working as a chill worker and general lackey for my local Dairy Queen. I was 17 and hadn't worked since the pandemic started, so I was pretty rusty when it came to customer service. Chill workers make the ice cream and bring it out to the tables, or hand it to people waiting at the counter. There was a heat wave coming through, and we were chronically understaffed, so it was chaos, of course. I was sweaty and covered in ice cream and near tears. For the unaware, Dairy Queen has a policy that if your server doesn't flip your Blizzard, to showcase how thick and creamy it is, before they hand it to you, you get a free Blizzard on your next visit. Now, this is obviously a very hard policy to actually enforce because, like how do you prove upon your next visit that they didn't flip the blizzy last time? Most of the customers are either unaware of this policy or acknowledge that it's kind of a joke and just fluff from corporate. As stated, it was chaos. The roster that day was 4 teenagers and a college-aged manager running that sh*t like it was the Navy, and we were all incredibly overwhelmed. A group of construction workers came through, and they all ordered large blizzards of various flavors. I made them all, flipped them, and handed them off, except the last one. As I picked it up, one of my co-workers called for me from the back of house, and it threw me off my rhythm. I handed the last man his blizzard and told him to have a nice day without flipping it. I was obviously flustered and in a hurry. This man. He reached under the protective barrier and grabbed my wrist, pulling me a foot backwards. The entire tile floor was sticky with the cream, so it was more of a slide, as I'd already started walking away. I turned back to him, startled, and he spoke the dreaded words. "You forgot to flip my blizzard. You guys owe me one." My manager, bless him, was fine-tuned to us and incredibly protective. He appeared out of thin air and grabbed my other hand, yanking me just hard enough to detach the man's grip, and pulled me behind him. "Love you and miss you so much, Jay, if you happen to be reading this." "Hey, no need for that. What's going on?" Jay asks carefully. "She forgot to flip my blizzard. I know the policy. You guys owe me a free one next time." Jay hesitates. He'd worked here a while, but I could tell he'd never actually had someone ask that the policy be put into action. He swallows. "Of course, sir, of course. You can remind us next time you visit." "No. I want written proof. I don't want you guys to try and dupe me out of it." Jay nods and smiles graciously, and murmurs to me, "Go get a pen and a blank note card out of the office." I do so, and bring it back. Jay begins to write. "No," the man interrupts. "I want her to write it." Jay stares at him. He stares back. Jay looks at me, crosses out what he'd written, and hands me the pen, gesturing for me to continue. He doesn't go far, though, hovering just over my shoulder. I keep my eyes on my feet. "What would you like me to write, sir?" "Write that your full name forgot to flip my blizzard, and that you owe me a free one next time." Jay cuts in. "That's really not necessary. You don't need her name, and she may not be on shift next time you visit us. Can she just write that we owe you one, and I can sign it?" Another split-second staring contest between Jay and the guy. He finally scoffs. "Yeah, fine." I write it quickly, and hand the pen back to Jay, who signs it and practically throws it over the barrier. "Don't forget to bring this when you come back. Have a lovely rest of your day." The dude nods and leaves with his buddies, who looked on the entire time in comfortable silence, like it wasn't a weird as sh*t intimidation tactic. Classic Dave, or whatever. Jay turns to me and says, "I don't know what that was." I shrug and giggle nervously, and he laughs, obviously pleased I wasn't too disturbed by the whole thing. And I'm not. I look back on it and find it funny, more than anything else. But I do wonder. What would he have done with my first and last name, spelled out for him? Glad we'll never find out. Regular in poor health, what would you have done? Hi all. I work in a tiny restaurant in the upper Midwest where it gets very cold, and we sadly have many unhoused folks and people in otherwise difficult financial circumstances. One of my regulars is a lady in her late 60s or early 70s who we will call April, not her real name. April has had a hard life. She is intermittently homeless and is currently squatting nearby. She has issues with substance abuse, and her physical and mental health is rapidly deteriorating. She comes in several times a week, and I always try to give her food or coffee and a place to warm up. She has good days where she is very lucid and grateful, and very bad days where she is confused, angry, and incoherent. I care about her and worry when I haven't seen her for a while, especially when it's cold. She has lost the tips of several fingers from sleeping outside, and she has advanced ovarian cancer in addition to many other health problems. Today she came in during my shift, and was notably out of it. I made her some food and she ended up falling asleep at the counter, which is uncommon. I had no other customers at the time, and was the only worker present. Very tiny restaurant, we all do every task. I gently woke her up and asked if she was okay, and she protested, but then started falling off her chair. I tried to help her back up and she said she was going down. Because it feels prudent to get out in front of certain questions/comments. Asterisk, I don't know how to explain it unless you've dealt with someone in this situation, but April is not all there anymore. She doesn't manipulate, she doesn't have the capacity. When she comes in, she's barely verbal even on the good days. She basically can ask for things, explain how she feels, sometimes can say where she's been, and express gratitude when she's lucid, and that's about it. Today she was bad. Today she could only ask, on repeat, for food and water and napkins. When I say on repeat, what I mean is that she asks something, you tell her a reply, and then she asks again for the same thing. It doesn't stick. She is caught in very short loops. She can't plan far enough ahead to deceive anyone. I'm sitting with her, holding her up, and she keeps saying she's falling, she needs to go down. Help me down. I need to go down. I can't stay up. I need EMS. Call EMS. She brought a blanket, so I helped her down off the stool, and laid her on the floor, and grabbed the phone, and called for EMS. I explained the situation as best I could and stayed down on the floor with her. I switched the sign to close and tried to keep her talking and support her head, and she went unresponsive, and I legitimately thought she was going to die, alone with me on the floor of the restaurant. I got her to open her eyes and kept talking to her, and went to the door to look for EMS. April has a friend, a gentleman named Ron, again, not really, who is also unhoused. Ron is a couple decades younger, very soft-spoken and generally sharp, but a big, strong dude compared to April, who might be 4 feet 6 inches tall. Ron watches out for April, they stay together, and he pushes her around town in her wheelchair. She can walk, but not quickly, and it is very challenging for her. I see Ron outside across the street and flag him over. He springs into action trying to help, but for him that help is get her up and get her out of here. He keeps telling her, you don't want the EMS, you just got out of the hospital. He told me she had just left today, and she was dehydrated from walking because he hadn't been around to push her. April is frequently in and out of the hospital, so this tracks. I explained to Ron that I've already called EMS, and that I did so at her request, but would have either way because I'm worried, and she's obviously not okay. At this point she is dry heaving over the mop bucket and cannot physically support herself enough to sit up on her own, much less stand. EMS is here. They come in and Ron and I explain what is up. Ron leaves to go get her wheelchair, after he tells them the address where they're staying, and that she just got out of the hospital. He also lets them know that she has ovarian cancer. The EMS guys take her vitals, she's dehydrated and her blood pressure is high. They have dealt with her before and know her basic history. Given that she cannot stand and is repeatedly asking, they put her on a stretcher, take her to the ambulance, and take her to the hospital. My boss, the owner, lives across the street, and by this point has come over to see what's up because he saw the sirens. He is very kind and understanding, and has dealt with the sort of stuff this city throws at you for much longer than I have, and takes over operations for me to give me a chance to go in the back and decompress while we pause for a second and try to process. The EMS dudes come back later to tell me they stabilized her and took her to the hospital, and I make them dinner on the house. Ron came back and said someone stole April's wheelchair from the squat, but also thanked me for calling and looking out for her. He knows we care about her and want to help. He was headed to the hospital to try to be on standby when she gets out. Last I spoke with him, my boss used this as the start of a conversation about how we need to have Narcan on site, and made a call immediately following to try to get the ball rolling. To be clear, I am not saying this was drug-related, but April has a public history of drug use, and there is lots of it in this area, so it would be a valuable thing to have, no matter what. April has at least one son around here, and he sometimes helps her out. He has a good job and a family, and clearly has tried many times over the years to help, but this has been a pattern that doesn't change. It is my understanding that her remaining family have tried to get her into a home, but that she is either not eligible or will not go. I guess I'm just wondering how the rest of you deal with other folks in this situation, if it is relatable to you. I know it is not necessarily my place, problem, or responsibility to worry about her, but I am human and I can't help feeling especially helpless about it. I have been off work for a couple of hours and am still fixated on it. I know that often in these service roles we deal with people who are in tough places and who have nowhere else to turn. What would you do / what have you done in similar interactions?